All right, everyone. Hey, welcome back. When I do this on Zoom to YouTube, I never know where we're going to start. Hopefully not in like the last 30 seconds when I'm like, okay, I think I click this here and then we go. So just for all of you that like get worked up, should be live now, but let me know in the chat how many of you think of live streaming, you're like, oh my gosh, never. I could never do that. Like there's too many moving pieces. It just no. Just from one from one like creator to another, someone who's done 100 plus videos just on YouTube, hundreds of workshops. They're still like at the I'm like, let's make sure that this is here. So in some ways, I hope it makes you feel better that there's always something to kind of figure out and go like, this isn't just as easy as clicking a button. I mean, it's a few buttons, but also that you can get started now. It's totally okay. That's what we're here. That's what we're here to do. Session number 2. It feels like we just got off a call because we kind of did. But Doc, welcome back. How was your past hour?
You know what? It was a lot of me trying to think about like I kept seeing, you know what? I kept seeing how much you were typing in the Notion document. I was like, oh crap. Like, oh crap.
That's
like,
right.
I need to work on this. And then like I was just on my phone, but no, it was good.
Yeah, I was keeping an eye on the Twitters. You
Yeah.
gotta make sure you stay on top.
Yeah, it was great. Oh, and by the way, who's it? Fetch Profits? I don't know what time you're watching this, but you're staying to watch all this stuff. Great. Thank you so much for being here, whatever time. For everyone jumping back in. So but it's been good. Actually, I've been looking at your outline. I'm like, okay, we'll get into it a little bit. The hardest part was the title. I had what I wanted to do. I just kept going back and forth with the title.
What do you think? Let's talk about that for a second. Like in terms of the title, like what you call a product. How do you think through that? How important is it? Like especially people early on, I hear a lot of people get stuck on this, and it's like, to me, it's one of those things that yes, it's important, but it also isn't so important that you need to like wait an extra week to do it. At the very least, this is the way that I think about naming things, especially in a very early stage. Is like the late great comedian Mitch Hedberg had this great bit, and he has a lot of not safe for work bits, but this one is really good because he said, I always wanted to be an appliance namer because all you have to do is say what it does and then add so it's dishwash refrigerate dry and I think that for naming products early on, lean more towards just saying what it does. What's the outcome? What are they going to be able to do? Learn how to live stream in 1 hour. Leave the off at the end, but just say what it does. Say what it does. Leave the catchy stuff, the clever stuff. The more that you do this, the more that will make sense and people will kind of understand. But just say what it does. Simpler, the better.
Yeah. I will talk about just 2 things. You're so right, because I try to be really, really clever when I first started. Like I had a whole company called, oh my God, Equilibrium Healthcare Services. I didn't know how to spell equilibrium. It was a botch every single time. I had a company called Fame Pills, and then yeah, it's just not necessarily, but one of my best selling courses is sell your services with live streaming. Like it was a lot better than all these other ones that I was trying to do. I do think I have a catchy one now, but it was, if you looked in the Podia, like in the Create-a-thon, like it's changed like 5 times depending on when people are seeing this. But yeah, exactly. Just exactly what Matt said. Just go and describe it in a phrase. And what I hear the next step is I tell it to people, and then usually people shorten it, or they're like, oh, it's like that. It's like this. It was I was in an app. I was not an app. I was in a competition where you were supposed to be creating an app, and all these other people had such better ideas, but mine, I just went on there for fun. But it was going to be an app of, it was called If I Take One More Drink. It would show if you're with someone in a club, if you take a picture of them, and you could toggle if you keep drinking, how good they would continue to look.
Ah,
And so I called it
hilarious.
that, but I was like, also, it's a 99-cent edition in the App Store. You can do the same thing with the derriere. So Booty Cam, it's 99 cents. And afterwards, I got more votes because people in the audience kept yelling out Booty Cam, and I changed the app right there. Not
There you
saying
go.
that they're not all great ideas, that app, I'm not saying it's great, but your audience talks back to you and tells you like what
Yeah.
you should name it sometimes. So
Yeah.
maybe that
Just
helps.
another good reason to talk to people early and often
Yeah.
and see, because you might give them a name and they're like, what?
Yeah.
And sometimes you can have like a clear name and then maybe you like clarify it a little bit more. Like you have a pretty clever name, but then you like might clarify it in the subtitle or the subheading. Like I have one called like 25-hour days. People are like, what? That doesn't exist. But then I say in the subheading, organize your day so it feels like you have an extra hour. And people are like, oh, cool. I would like an extra hour in my day.
Mm-hmm.
So there are ways to do it, but I would say, especially early on, like don't spend a ton of time thinking about what you're gonna name something. Just, let's get it out there, talk to people, and keep going.
Real quick, just want to say this as we're going
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
Danny was talking about what should I use, send Fox, all this stuff. Listen, make it real simple. Podia has email
Mm-hmm.
capabilities. You don't need to do a lot with it. Don't worry about emails. Put that off to the side. Focus on one section at a time. Danny, you'll get this. Like, no worries. Not a problem with email. As long as you think about your product, what you're going to be offering, we'll hook you up. It's later in the day. Don't worry, man.
Yep.
We got you.
Yeah, don't worry about that right now. If you look at the outline, you can see that is coming. Now, I will. I'm gonna, even if you did want to scoot ahead a little bit and like look down on this one day dot build
Yeah.
page that we have. Which, let me go ahead and just share my screen on that so you can see it again yourselves, just to kind of show you where we're at. So if you look at this. And just so you know, a couple little updates. This is where we are right now. So you can come to this page. We'll drop it back into the chat as well. But for those of you that are wondering, like, hey, where can I find the last one? Find all of these on youtube.com/Podia TV. All right. And this is where we're going to be posting the session. This is the one that's going now. I'm not going to click it because then I would hear my own voice in my head. And there's enough of that already. And so if you click right here on previous sessions is where you can see the replays. But again, you'll also see them youtube.com/Podia TV. But scroll on down here. This is where you're going to see some of these. This is where you're going to see some of these helpful resources. So like newsletters, building your email list. There are things here that you can look at later on. Okay, let me refresh this. Let me tell you a little bit of how I was thinking through my process for the last hour. And I don't want you to look at this and Doc can share his. I don't want everyone on the chat to see this and think like, oh man, Matt's got this all figured out. Because like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I would not have done like all of this. I should have. And I don't want you to think like, as you watch this kind of outline this, think like, oh, well, I'm not there yet. This is what we're here for today. And I want you to focus on giving each step your best effort and putting the work in, because this is what's going to help build you to the next level, to the next stage. This is what's going to give you that creative confidence. So where I'm at thinking through like my simple product right here is a really clarifying decision that I made was that I want to create a product that doesn't take a lot of setup time. Okay. I can teach live based on expertise I already have. And all I need to do at that point is create an outline and a slide deck. So we talked about this earlier. I use my email list, Twitter, Instagram. Emily Mills talked about this with using Instagram questions. Sometimes I'll just drop a tweet and say like, hey, this is something that I'm thinking about, or this is an idea that I have. And then like Doc was talking about in the last session, let's pick an idea where you can see you have an interest overlapping and coinciding with audience excitement. So that could even just be like texting 10 people. Okay. Doesn't have to be, I don't want you to get stuck on, I don't have 100, I don't have, you know, I don't have an email list. I don't have a YouTube channel. I don't have, followers on any social channels. Just text people and see what their responses are. And so I'll just say this and then I'll shift it over to Doc. But what I just decided to do was a live goal setting workshop. Like that's a really popular, those are really popular pieces of content for me. Whenever I post about it, it resonates with people and I get some engagement. And I know I could do like a full course on it, but what I'm going to start with is just doing a like 3 short sessions over multiple days so I can focus on one outcome each day. And I'm just going to say like, hey, for 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 11 a.m. We're going to get on Zoom for 30 minutes. And I'm just going to show you how to set and plan goals for the next month, for the next 90 days. So that's what I was thinking about for the past hour. There are some notes, admittedly I made about this ahead of time, but what are you thinking about right now, Doc? Like what is the work that you're setting up for, like, say, the next 2 or 3 hours?
Yeah. So, you know what? So I was planning back and forth. I was like, how much work should I do beforehand in like in real time? So for me, wait, Matt, what was the question?
Yeah. So what's been your thought process in the past hour of like getting to, this is the product that I'm going to do.
Yeah.
This is how I arrived at the decision. And now these are the next steps.
Yes. Thank you so much. So originally I was going to go with a product of teaching ones how to package their expertise. And then I realized like, that's pretty much like the through line over all the things I talk about. I'm like, I think I can be a little bit more specific. I think I can make this a little bit more specific on what I want people to do to package their expertise. So I was thinking back, what is the fastest like lever that I can pull to teach people to create a product and all these things? And then my next thought was, every time when I talk about a product or service, especially when I'm talking to like industry experts or ones that are in the field, everyone gives me some kind of phrasing like, I just want to be famous in my industry, or I want to stand out to be a thought leader. And that's what I was thinking about. And I was like, okay, as I'm thinking about that, being a thought leader is very hard to do, or it's easier said than done. I was like, what is the easiest way to teach people how to be a thought leader? And I kept coming back to this over and over again. And I've mentioned this a lot with live streaming, but I view how I live stream similar to a late night show. And I structure my live streaming like a late night show of having the opening, the band, the crowd, and everything. And doing that allows you to become an industry expert. You're inviting people in. So then I was thinking, and by the way, if people are like, why is he going through that? I'm just giving you my thought process. So I was thinking, who would be a famous one or a structure for people to understand thought leaders, or understanding the structure of a late night show or something like that. And I kept coming over and over again. I was like, Oprah. Like, I can only think about Oprah. Like, that's the only one I was thinking about. So I was like, I want to show people how to be an industry expert. And I was like, okay, how would I call it? Like being Oprah. And I was thinking like becoming an industry thought leader. You're going to become Oprah. Now, you're not going to be as big as Oprah. Well, maybe you will. But I was like, how could you be an industry expert like that? So that was my thought process. And I was like, then I was thinking about you, very similar. You were talking about workshops. I'm like, I can do like a one and done, but I think I love workshops so much because the more people engage throughout the workshop, the better I can build the course later on and build out the content. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to do a 3 or 5 day workshop about teaching people how to be an industry leader and structure it all around like what Oprah did, like the couch and everything. But there's so many things that people can do structured just like that. And so that's my thought process, how I got there.
Yeah, and especially if we talked about this a little bit at the beginning, and I'm so glad this is coming up. I hope people are encouraged by this. And also, don't get too worked up in thinking that you have to do like all these connections in terms of live streaming. Like, I know people, was it, I think it was Shalina was saying that she mostly just goes live in her Facebook group. And, you can go live, you can do Facebook Live on your phone. If phone perfectly good. I did like my first 50 YouTube videos with my phone. Perfectly good. You could even just do, if you're just talking like one to your channel, like I can go into YouTube and hit a go live button. Yeah, I don't have to connect everything through Zoom. So there's a lot that you can do with this. And I was thinking, even even if you wanted to test this out over like even from a free perspective, like you could do a couple or just one like free webinar to get people interested. Like I use this example yesterday in my first funnel presentation, that if I had done like one piece of that, like, hey, let's talk about, I'm going to do a webinar, a free workshop for you showing you how to create a lead magnet. I'm going to show you how to do this, and that's going to be free. Say I got like 10, 15, 20 people to sign up. That's great. And we go through that. And I'm like, hey, and then at the end, I'm like, hey, this is actually just part one of this 4-step process that I teach. That's how to set up a sales funnel for your products. I'm going to do a 3-day workshop showing you every other piece of this. It's going to be on these days. It's going to be X number of dollars. You can go here on Podia and sign up for it. It could be as simple and straightforward as that.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm big on exactly what you're saying. Just make it simple, like break it up, like just write down like I don't know, Rube Berg. What's that, like that little thing,
Rube
like
Goldberg.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's
The
like
Rube Goldberg machine.
yeah, like just have something that if this happens next, like do the
Yep.
next thing. And so that way you don't have to stress about anything else. Like don't stress. Just make it super easy and you're just like, yes, no, yes, no, okay. And you just
Yeah.
move
And
on.
then it goes a lot to like your chart at the beginning, is that like, let's say you do have 3 ideas. A lot of people said at the beginning that they have multiple ideas for products. And if that's the case, great. Think of like 3 simple lead magnets or free things that you can set up, that try all 3 and see which one has the most interest, what has the most engagement. Be like, great, that's the one. I'm going to create a product based on this.
Yeah. There's uh can I can I give 2 examples?
Yeah, yeah. Come on. Come on. We're still keeping an eye on the chat, everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, forgot. Danny, to say you were talking about Facebook Live, what's the easiest as far as tech goes? Like if you're good with like Zoom, if you've already know how to use Zoom, like get in your Zoom account, bam, there you go. If it, whatever I like, just pick up the phone, whatever you think the best thing is, just go around. Yeah, it's totally good. Where can you get your process flow? It's on the Podia page. I'll drop the link, the Notion page, that one, but you can get the workflow again that we did in session 1.
Yeah, that's all there and good to go. Let me put that link back in. I need to actually like save the link so I can just there we go. Now I'm a professional. Let's see what some people are saying in the chat. Yeah, Denise is saying, thank you for that idea. I can still get value and make some money off the rest. Yeah. Take one piece of your larger idea. And then, like, say, for example, something that I've done is like, hey, here's how to plan your day. Here's how to plan your week. And so once people get used to at that point, like, okay, I'm able to take care of the day. I'm able to take care of the week. Now I can expand it out and say, hey, once you have your day nailed down, like, how can you connect a series of days and weeks to actually plan and achieve the goals that you have? How can you make the plan that you have for today a part of a larger plan that you have for a goal of something that you want to achieve? Here's where you can learn more about that and get a product or a live session so that that can be something that you're able to do.
Yeah. And then was it Barbara saying, can you point me out how to do a live workshop through your YouTube channel?
So something to do on that. I don't have it handy with me right now, but you can do this through Podia. You can do this through Podia with a YouTube Live. There's a help article to help you know how to do it. So this is something you can definitely do. Just basically, if you go to help.podia.com, we'll grab it, but go to help.podia.com and just type in YouTube. It'll show you exactly how to do it. And this could be for a free thing. This could also be for a paid workshop.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, also too, Fetch Profits talks about I'm worried about showing up, about people judging me. Can I answer this for a second? um, Listen, people always have an opinion. So what? Don't worry about that. This is about you, and you are delivering great content, great information to change people's lives. There's always going to be someone that says something. Don't worry about it. And guess what? When you go live, you have this camera, no one else is around you. And if you can't handle it, for myself, if I'm showing up to a place where it's not my normal channel, like I don't read the comments, I don't read anything. Like if it stresses me out, you've got to be comfortable with whatever you're doing. So maybe you're too, if it's too much with the comments and negativity and all those stuff, go live, invite the people that you know will benefit, and you just talk to that camera. You have a great time, and you know what? You end afterwards. You don't worry about the comments, and you keep living your best life.
Don't look at them. You know, we didn't get into this with Julie, but I talked with her some about that in the session. I think she'd be fine with me sharing this, but yeah, she just has a rule that she just doesn't look at comments that much, or she will look at comments for the first 24 hours of her video, but she doesn't look at, like, she turned off her like open Instagram DMs several months ago at this point. And let's, women have a much harder time with this. It's really sad and frustrating to see some of the things that are directed towards women online. But yeah, just being able to go live and then turn it off. And even for YouTube, if you want, you can turn off comments, right? You can turn off comments for a video. And I think you can in pretty much any situation. So think about that. The other thing that I would consider, like we've talked about YouTube Live, we've talked about Facebook Live. If you're on Instagram, just doing an Instagram story or even an Instagram live can be a good way to test those, like, I'm going to talk to a camera muscles, and getting better at that. Because even if it's just 10, 15 seconds at a time, you're like, okay, I have to deliver one thought, right? I have to deliver one thought. It's going to take me 10 seconds. Great. And then you can publish that one and be like, okay, next thought. And when you keep doing that, then, I mean, that's all we're doing right here. Sometimes I'm not even on to the next thought, like in my head before I'm talking. Yeah, that's a personal struggle. But this is, the more that you do this, the more comfortable you will get, not just in your own skin, but just knowing that, hey, like, I've got a story. I'll save it for the next session, but I've got a story about, like, what some of you have probably heard it. My first live workshop, and like how poorly that went. So little teaser, show up for the next session and hear that.
Also too, Fetch Profit saying outstanding, thanks so much. It's just like exercising. You just get used to it, and just also, I was going to say too, if you're going to use your phone, this is one thing. This is what killed me the first time. I used to keep out my hand and try to do this. Well, you know what? My hand got tired. My arm got tired. Brace yourself on a nice table and then make yourself relax, because I started sweating when I first started because I was so nervous holding the camera. I'm like, I've got to keep this. Listen, relax, sit down on a comfortable place, but brace your shoulders, everything like this, and just go live that way. The more comfortable you're going to be, the better you're going to, be in front of the camera, and you'll feel more confident. You'll be good to go.
Yep.
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll probably go for about 5 to 10 more minutes on this session. I'm going to give you some more time to actually work and not just watch the Matt and Doc show for the next 30 minutes. As high ratings as we're getting. But think about, we've talked a lot about going live and doing like a workshop as a way to do something quickly and relatively easily. But I understand, and we've talked a lot about, maybe you're not ready to deliver live, and that's totally cool. That's totally fine, because there are some, unique things about it. But what I would think about is still use, the principles are the same. Like maybe you have a one-page PDF that helps deliver one solution. Okay. And that's your lead magnet. And then you have, not a long course or a long ebook, but I could do the same thing. Like, hey, here's a PDF lead magnet about how to create a lead magnet. Very meta.
Yeah.
But then I could say, like, hey, if you want to see my like short course, 4 more lessons on how to do this with, like I could use Loom. John talked about Loom yesterday. It for screencasting, because then I can just I can record my screen, I can talk you through it and say, like, here's how I would set this up in Podia, here's what I would do, here's a link to the email script. I could still do all of these same steps, but delivered, not live. The thing is about live that's nice is you can do it, at least the way that I do it, it's less upfront preparation. And so I can test a lot faster and more easily. But if you're not ready to be at that point yet, totally okay. Think about how you can apply the same principle, like do some screen records, make it quick and dirty. Don't get stuck on trying to make it like the greatest thing you've ever created, because based on the place that you're at right now, you're probably not in a position from a talent standpoint right now. And that's okay, to be able to deliver something that you might have up in your head is this like idea of perfection.
Yeah. So this is exactly same exact thought process. If I'm dealing with something, exactly what Matt was saying, see what your audience needs, record it on Loom and send it to them.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm like. So if
Perfect.
I know 1 or 2 people, I'm like, hey, Dan, this is what I'm thinking. This is where we're going to go with this. Wanted to create this quick video for you. I tell you, when you create personalized videos for people, people go wild. People go
solid gold.
Yeah. And so I would say, even if you have 3, 5, it doesn't matter. You just make it personal, say their name at the beginning, send it to them. The other one too that I saw, which was interesting, I haven't tried it that much, but I really love the idea for people that are like, you're trying to get people, they're anxious, they don't want to log in, do all this stuff. They send micro lessons via text. And so they're like, hey, and it's half emoji, half just like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Go do this. And it's almost like, how can I say? It's almost like just like a motivational kind of thing. Like, hey, do this in the next 30 minutes. And it's just like this quick 1 or 2 sentences. And it's like, if you like this, I'm thinking about doing a workshop. Yes or no? You're thinking about it? You like this? And so don't worry about the tech or anything. Worry about how you're going to deliver the content. Make it fun. Make it that people like it. Loom or text messaging. If people really like it, I mean, and trust me, I'm not saying give out your cell number or something like that. So if it's someone you know and you're comfortable, test the idea and text them. If you're like, hey, a lot of people are texting, and I'm not trying to add more work, but you can always use Google Voice or something so you don't use your real number. But it depends. Right. Just make it easy. If I'm saying Google Voice and you're like, oh, that's too much, don't do it. Don't just pretend I didn't say it and do something else. Just make it really easy to get started.
Yeah, whatever's going to work best for you. Like that could be, maybe you're doing an Instagram DM, maybe it is like you're using WhatsApp. There's a bunch of different ways that you could do it that, protects your personal info. A couple of questions that I just want to hit on before we wrap up this session. Louise was asking, Louise, do you think it's a good idea for getting people onto your email list? Yeah, that's definitely something that we're going to talk about later. I did drop an article into the chat about that. And if you go again to like the kind of homepage we're using for this, oneday.build, you're going to see in the resources section and in the resources from my talk yesterday, how to create a lead magnet and how to set that up with your email. Let's see what else. Janelle was saying, still creating my 12-week program in Podia. So this is a really good example. This is something that one of the things I would think about, Janelle, is maybe you start with a 4-week program, or like do that and see, because one of the things that I did, like when I've done a session like that in the past, my past self is, yeah, I started with a 12-week session. I had like all these ideas for lessons. And what I found is after 6 weeks of working with people and going through them, being like, oh, they need a lot more information on this particular lesson, or this thing that I thought I was going to talk about. It turns out that it's not really necessary anymore. And so really the last 4 weeks were like all new sessions that I created basically on the fly, but because I got really specific feedback from the people that I was working with. And this is really valuable. So I would think about, taking like Janelle, or if anyone's thinking of this kind of uh this kind of product, because I do think it works really well in a lot of situations. But what can you try first from a 4-week session to make it easier to sell, easier to do for yourself? And basically, I would think about like, how many sessions do you have nailed down right now? You have 3, you have 4, you have 6. Great. You now have a 6-week program ready to go. And I would think about trying to sell that first. And then you could expand it out and say to those people who went through your 6-week program, hey, I've got another 6 weeks. Here we go. You could add more people in at that point as well.
I love that. I love that. Just make it simple and just make it almost like bite size, and then be able
Yeah.
to expand. It's really easy to build out your product suite if you have just a smaller offering, and then you can always have validation that
Mm-hmm.
people are really enjoying it. Just up that price and then give more
Yep.
value right there. You're good to go.
Yeah, and you can create bundles in Podia, especially if like you start with a bunch of like relatively small products. And you don't necessarily have to do that, but I would be thinking about, if I was to give advice to my early product self, it would be like, create a bunch of smaller products like Shalina was talking about, with one solid outcome. And then you can either bundle all of those together, or you can then like reconstitute them, reorganize them as that bigger product, add some connective tissue, like in a sense, to make sure that everything makes sense alongside of each other.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
also too, I was just gonna say, Matt, you see how much connection and people are talking to each other in the chat? Like,
Yeah, I love it.
remember, this is a great ecosystem.
Hmm.
Get each other's information or talk or do something, find each other, because like this allows you to start building out the ecosystem. If you're worried, like, how do I start? Or like, I won't have enough audience. Listen, JV, like joint venture, doing stuff and just
Yeah.
making it informal and finding one where it's a good fit, like
Yeah.
you're already off to the races. So this is a really positive group in the chat. I love it.
Yeah, me too. Okay, a couple more minutes. So if you have any questions for this, go ahead and drop them in, because we're winding down this particular session. Next steps before we get to final questions. What we have on the outline right now is that in the next session, we're going to do another check-in on your content. Remember, keep it, or sorry, that's next one. I'm in Central Time, so I looked at 12. I was like, oh, of course. But it's like, never mind. Time zones. So the next one, we're going to start talking more about sales pages and launch emails. Keep in mind, that is the next session. Okay, so you still have an hour and a half, 90 minutes. Work on the content, work on the idea for the product that you have. Use John's resources, use the resources that Doc and I have dropped into the Notion page. Use those to continue to build out what you believe you want your product to be. Okay, because then we're going to create a sales page. We're going to do some welcome emails. We can talk about more ways to like get those ideas from people who you believe will be interested in this, but focus on the content and the product for the next 90 minutes still.
And Matt, if I could say, if you're stuck
Mhm.
and you're like you can't get out of your own head,
Yep.
call someone or write a letter. And if you're saying, well, I can't call anyone right now, well, just imagine what you would tell them. Record yourself then explaining what your product or service is.
Yeah. Leave them a
Record yourself.
message.
Exactly. It's fine. And if And if you're really like, I don't know how to explain it, think about either explaining it to your grandparents or explaining it to a kid. And maybe trying to explain it in both ways, that will get you to distill down very quickly how to express yourself and make it a great product or service.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's check and see what kind of questions we might have, and then we'll do this for the next round in a little bit. Okay.
Let's see. Mickey's talking about, is anyone doing art journaling?
Love it.
Yeah, that's really good. Also, too, I keep seeing over and over again, Monica talking about the homeschool by design. That's really interesting. So, yeah, just again, if anyone has any questions, sounds like people are just experimenting or trying to have this momentum. So I think in the next session, it will be really good. And again, remember, write it down, talk to someone, will be available, message either Twitter. If it's not working, message me or email me or Matt. I think this is great. So this is, you're doing a freestyle rap course? Wow. Okay. That's what I'm talking about.
There we go.
Yeah, this is great. Better to use the and your and your. Productivityist is asking, better to use the in a title or your in a product title. What do you think? To me, I'm just gonna say I'm just gonna try it out either way and see what validates or again, I ask people and they like, usually when I say the title, they repeat it back and they shorten it the way I'm like, yeah, that's that. I should go with that. I've had your a lot, but something to keep in mind. Okay, now the questions are coming in. Did you see that? Movement in science. Oh, movement in science industry. I'm happy to listen to ideas too. Oh, that's awesome. Infinity GPC. I've had 40 groups of small businesses to go through my in-person class. How do I position myself on your platform?
Yeah, so if you're on Podia for this, then one thing, if you're used to teaching in-person classes, then use the webinar feature in Podia. Like whether that's with Zoom or with YouTube, you can do either way. Make sure that you can just set up a page saying like, this is the course, but this is the the workshop that I'm going to be teaching. It's X number of dollars, and you can join here. You can pay here. So that's what we're going to be talking about in the next session. But yeah, you can use the webinar feature on Podia to do that.
Danny's mentioning right here. Oh, what if my stuff is easy to find for? Oh, I don't know. What if my stuff is easier to find for free stuff? Oh, how to find stuff on YouTube? Maybe that's what Danny's saying. I'm sorry.
I see another thing. I think this is Danny Deegan. Yeah.
Okay.
Beginning woodworking, free to find on YouTube. So yeah, the thing that I would think about for something like this is think about your kind of beginning stuff as being great on YouTube, a podcast, a blog. Like I said, I do videos just about like how to plan your week, how to plan your day, like how to do some really basic free stuff. It's easy to find. But at the same time, if you can show a unique, fun, engaging way to do those free beginner things, and you can say like, hey, you want to take this to the next level. You want to make a better design. You want to do X, Y, and Z. Check out this workshop. Check out this, hop on my email list, get this PDF. Let me show you how to like do this design. Lots of different ways that you can take it. So it's okay if you're seeing that it's easy to find.
Could I do that? This is actually very practical for him. I'm going to share a screen real quick. If you don't mind, Matt, I'll stop in a second.
Yeah, please do.
Make a wood sign. This is one of my clients. He does this on YouTube. And he's a Podia user, by the way. So he did make a wood sign. He had a YouTube channel. He was trying to figure out what was he going to do to incentivize people. So I was like, why don't you do 7 steps to sign carving basics? Boom. So when it's on his site, everything on his YouTube links to this now. His most, his biggest.
It's perfect.
And 7 steps to sign carving basics. Sign up here for watch all 7 steps, so they can watch one and then look. It's a Podia page right here.
There we go.
And that's it. So that's his lead magnet for all of his content and everything. And so it's just like Matt was saying, it's the basics. Make it 1 step. break it down, and bam, you're done.
Yep. Such a good example. All right, everyone, we are going to end this particular stream, this particular session. Again, just a takeaway, make sure that you're focusing on your content and the product itself. Okay. Do that for the next hour and 20 minutes. And then we're going to start talking about sales pages, a little bit more into validation, outreach. And yeah, Doc, do you have anything as we're wrapping up?
Oh no, I cannot believe I looked at it and I was like, oh, we did it under 20 minutes. I was like, oh crap,
Yeah.
it's been 40 minutes again. No, so we'll be here. But everyone seems to be liking this stuff. So I'm glad. And yeah, let's get to work and we'll be working on sales. Don't worry about sales page. Just worry about product and how good this is going to be. We'll be great.
Product. All right, everyone. Be on the lookout. Again, youtube.com/Podia TV is going to be where the next session is. I'm going to set it up right after this. We will be live right at about 2 p.m. Yeah, 2 p.m. Eastern time. So keep an eye out on that. Ring the bell, do all those YouTube things, and we will see you again soon.